House call with Dr. Tanya George. I had to do it that way. I knew we'd get you in the house. One way or the other.
Emily.
We would get you in the house one way or the other. We got to see. You got to start you off. Got to start you off the correct way. We got to start you off the right way. So now, like I said, if y'all that are on my personal Facebook page, let me know if you all can hear the good doctor. Make sure that she is coming through loud and clear for you all.
Yes.
How you doing this evening, Dr. George? Good evening, love.
I am well. How are you?
Fantabulous, darling. Fantabulous.
I'm like, what is wrong with him? I guess it's no different than me talking about some. Are you there? Hello. Are you there?
Look, I am well and I am not well. And I'm coming to y'all tonight to talk about mental health wellness and mental health awareness.
Okay.
But I'm always transparent when I come on.
Yes, you are.
Oh, Billy. Oh, I saw.
And I am not well.
Okay.
I am not well.
Okay, well,
There's so many things going on just like everybody else. So many things personally, so many things in the world. I was at work, and I have a sibling text message, and my sister sent a text message saying, every muscle in my body aches. She said, I'm crying. She was like, I can't stop crying.
Wow.
She was like, I don't know what to do. So first thing I'm thinking as a provider, she got COVID, what's wrong with her, And then my brother chimes in, and my brother says, whatever you do, don't watch it. So I'm like, what are y'all talking about? And then she says, George Floyd. And I'm like, who's George Floyd? Because I didn't know. And I'm at work, and I start playing the video, even though my brother warned me and told me not to.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I walked out of work that day in tears crying because I, too, have a son, and I'm tired of watching so many of the young men just taken down just senselessly,
Yes.
And I'm tired of people not acknowledging the problem that you just addressed. I'm tired of people, it doesn't pertain to me. Whether it's because you don't have a child that's, a male child, or maybe because your skin color is not the same or whatever. But, it don't pertain to me. And when are we going to say it's enough?
Right.
When are we going to say it's enough?
Exactly.
So you spoke earlier, you said, who's got it together? That's one thing that I wrote down that you said. And then you said it's about the people. So when you're talking about mental health and stress, we have to have a sense of accountability to each other to get through and go through life. We can't go through life alone. You can't expect other people to go through life alone because there are so many things going on individually, so many things going on in the world that affect everyone that it's hard. This life is hard. We can find strength in Jesus. We can find strength in God. But we can also find strength with each other. So I want to talk about the different types of mental health, mental wellness, etc. When you think about mental wellness, it's just, how good are you at managing all your emotions, your feelings? How are you acting out with those things? Because I could have left work. I could have went there. I can't even remember the name of the movie back in the day, Michael Douglas, and he just went ballistic and started walking down the street and just started attacking people and cars because he had enough. That's a response. What your actions are, when you're upset, when you're sad, when you have these things going on. And again, you can have acute problems, or you can be someone that has an actual diagnosis of mental illness and have it chronically, where you're battling it your whole life, where it's a constant struggle. Whether it's an acute problem or chronic, we all need people. You know, we all need some sense of support. We all need to pray.
Yes.
We all need to do all of those things. But it can get hard. You know, it can get overwhelming. COVID's going on. Last week, and I had mentioned this on another webinar, you know, something recent. Last week, one of my coworkers got COVID. And at first they didn't, you know, no one told us who the person was. So, of course, my mind started playing tricks on me yet again, because I'm working in the environment next to individuals. You don't know who have it. You don't know what patients have it. You know, then you find out someone has it. You know, not everybody's getting tested how you would think it should be.
Right.
And, you know, next thing you know, your throat is feeling a little funny. You know, you got a little something, you just don't feel right. 'Cause I've been telling y'all for days, I just don't feel right.
And, like, my
And
mind's
it's probably
playing
just my mind.
Yeah,
My mind is just, you know, do I have it? Do I don't? You know, your mind can start playing all these tricks on you.
Yeah.
Like the Ghetto
You know,
Boys.
you have all these pressures.
Mind playing
all
tricks
these
on you.
pressures on you.
Yeah.
So, but what about people that are living, you know, these things that I'm going through, they're acute things. You know, every once in a while you'll have this, you'll have that, you'll have this. You go through it, you get over it, you move on. Sometimes you forget about, you know, the experience or what happened. But people going through it every single day. There's people with bipolar disease or disorder, people that have attention deficit disorder, ADD, ADHD is hyperactivity, people that have schizophrenia that see people that are not there, have hallucinations, hear things. Sometimes we have patients that come in the hospital and they're like, oh, yeah, I heard the devil tell me that I'm no good and that I should douse myself with alcohol and set myself on fire.
Oh, Lord.
That's a common story that I've heard over this, you know, several years of, you know, working in a hospital. You have people that hear voices. You have people that hallucinate. You have some people that have experienced such traumas in life, and they have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of the veterans, you know, that have gone into war, some of them will come back and have, you know, these mental illnesses. Some of the statistics are, you know, pretty impressive. 1 in 5 adults has a disability related to mental illness between the age of 15 and 44. 1 in 5. So 20% of us are walking around, you know, on disability or have a disability because of mental health.
Yeah.
We're not even going to talk about suicide. You know, we are going to talk about suicide, but I'm like, suicide. Every time you turn around, you hear about people killing themselves.
Yes.
It's the 10th leading cause of death. 10th leading cause of death for individuals aged 10 to 34.
Look how young that is. 10.
I mean, very, very young.
Wow.
So, I mean, the impact that it has on society, mental illness, and the stigma, you know, is always looked upon as something that's bad, something that's, you know, demonic, something that's, you know, this or that, or they crazy, they this, you know, all these different types of negative connotations. So how can someone that has these illnesses feel included? So they wind up developing self-stigmas, and they think to themselves, well, yeah, I am this, I am that. You ever hear the phrase, oh, I'm not defined by my past?
Yeah.
But then you have people defining other people by their
past.
illnesses.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you have diabetes, so you're going to point to that person, oh, yeah, she's the diabetic. She's not Tanya. She's the diabetic. You're going to
Exactly.
refer to her in that way. And it's the same thing with racism, too.
Yeah.
You see that person, oh, that's the black person, or the negative words, the N words or whatever. That's that.
Yeah.
It's the negative stigmas, the negative connotations that people place on other people.
Yes.
You said earlier, it's about us. Some people don't know what us is because all some people think about is me, 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 me.
Right.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
So it's not about other people. It's not about helping other people. It's not about getting to a place where you can, as you said earlier, it's about that discipleship.
Yeah,
And
because
part of that discipleship is being of support.
Yes.
Is about helping other people. So there's several things that we can do in addition to praying, in addition to trusting in God and relying heavily on Him. We have to understand that there's things that we have to do as individuals. I can sit up as stressed as I am right now and stay like this. Before I know it, I'll be eating too much or not eating. I'll be sleeping too much or not sleeping, etc. Those are some of the symptoms. You can get depressed. You can get stressed. When you have so much stress going on in your life, you have increase in hormone levels. Those increases and increase in stress can then lead to heart disease, heart problems, as well as other types of illnesses. So it's like one begot the next, begot the next.
Right.
So you have to try to target it. Try to stop it before it worsens. Some things we can't change. A lot of things we cannot change. But the things that we can change, you got to try to change those things. You have to have some sort of self-regulation. You have to be able to direct your behavior. So for me, like I know that I'm kind of like, okay, I need a break. I would love to be sitting on the beach in Aruba right now or go back to Tobago and go to the house and just hang out and go to the beach and stay there all day. But I can't.
Yeah.
So what else do I do? You find things that make you at peace. Find things that bring you joy. You don't stay in the same setting that's making you feel heavy. And that includes being around certain people. If certain people are negative people and they just truly rub you the wrong way and they disrupt your peace and you're already struggling, separate yourself from them.
Amen.
Get through yourself. You don't want to get deeper and deeper into a state where you can't come out or it's harder to come out of.
Amen.
You have to understand what your habits are and not develop any bad habits. Some people, like I said, start overeating. Some people undereat. And those two things alone are considered, can be considered medical or mental illness, anorexia and bulimia.
Yeah.
Some people will eat and then throw up just so they won't gain weight because they view themselves when they look in the mirror in a distorted manner. Or they feel like, oh, if I gain too much weight or if, I'm more than 80 pounds, I'm fat because of the stigma that's stuck in their head and they believe that, 80 pounds is even too big.
Yes.
So you have to also have self-awareness. You have to know what makes you tick. What things in your life, what things that you've experienced take you to that place that you don't want to be. Make you have more stress.
It's like, what are your triggers?
Yeah, what are your triggers? What? And I got a many. I have many. I mean, most people have many triggers, but it's understanding yourself and knowing to avoid those things, not keep going at it, not keep going in the same direction as those things. Stay away from those things.
Yeah.
And then you have to have strategies. You have to be able to have safeguards put in place to protect your inner peace.
Yeah.
And again, whether it's a person, whether it's environments, regardless of what it is. Sometimes it could even be foods.
Wow.
Certain foods.
Okay.
And then having obsessions with food. So, what do we do about it? What are the different risks? Some of the risks are traumas. Some people just have experienced a lot of traumas in their lives.
Yeah.
As kids, you know, you have men and women that have been raped. You have people that have been incarcerated. You have people that have gone off to war that don't come back the same.
Yes.
You know, you have different types of traumas that people go through in life, and it becomes different for them when they're in this reality compared to how they were prior to that reality. They have to function and do things internally different in order to get by. So I met someone recently, and they told me a story of when they were a child. I think she said she was about 8 or 9 years old, and her mother remarried to a, I think she said, Roman Catholic priest.
Oh, wow.
Well,
And
Okay.
he was abusing her.
yeah.
So she had to lock herself up in closets to feel safe.
Wow.
So now, as an adult, you know, 60-something years old, when you meet her, you kind of, you know, you, as a health professional, and I'm dealing with people on a daily basis that have some sort of mental illness. I don't mean the mental instability because you're mentally not well. I mean the full-out chronic mental illnesses, such as bipolar, schizophrenia. So when you see her and I meet her and I'm like, okay, something's there, something's going on. Then she tells the story and it makes sense.
Okay.
It makes sense why she is the way she is. I'm not saying that she has to stay that way, but it makes sense based on what she experienced for several years of her life.
Yes.
So that goes back to it not being about just one person or this or that, about being about people. When you have a level of compassion for individuals, and you don't look at people as an object or an illness, as a color, etc., and look at people as wholes, people that have feelings, people that have gone through things,
Yes.
people that have still, even though they've gone through things, they have to give. Because everybody still has things to give in this world, in this life. So even though she's gone through the things that she's gone through, she still has to give. When I left her that day, we left there with an agreement that that night that I was going to pray for her because she asked me to pray for her. Our conversation went from one side all the way to the next, and we started talking about God. And we started talking about how despite all that she's gone through, what she had at her bedside, her Bible. Because she didn't allow her past to completely define her present or her future. She didn't lose faith in God just because her stepfather, who was a priest, did those things to her. She could have easily done that, but she didn't.
Yes.
So she kept going through, and she kept fighting, and she's still fighting, and she's in a battle. But who am I to say that I know what she's going through?
Right.
You know, who is the next person to say that they know what I'm going through? Sometimes people look at me and, oh, they see a doctor in front of it, or they see me in the hospital with a stethoscope around my neck. No one knows what I've gone through in my life.
Yeah.
No one can guess what I've gone through in my life. I'm transparent. I'm not saying that I got to sit up and tell everybody every single thing. But a lot of times when we have things that we've gone through, and like right now, this week has not been a good week for me.
Okay.
Those other people that may not be having a good week, it is great to be transparent, to let other people know that you're not alone.
Yes.
Exactly.
You're not the only one going through things. And guess what? We can go through things together, supporting each other, being there for each other, and understanding that this too shall pass.
Amen.
Exactly. We need to stop being afraid of one another and actually talking to one another. But we let all of our prejudices, our biases get in the way, and we allow them to color our perception of someone else, and that pushes us away from people instead of drawing us closer together. And if we would actually do that and let our guard down and actually start talking to one another, we'll find out, and learning from one another, we find out that we're all not that different.
Right.
We all got the same
So many
struggles.
things in common. You
Yeah.
know, everybody. And it doesn't matter what race, where you come from. We all have so much in common. We're all sisters and brothers. We all come from one. We all come from one. We're all children of God.
Yes.
So we have so many things in common, but we tend to want to separate ourselves.
That's true.
You know, and some people to such a high degree that they feel that they are superior to other individuals just because they are lighter complexion. And I can even say darker complexion because I know some black people that are racist.
I was going to tell you that because we can do that real quick. Go back to Spike Lee.
Yeah. I know people
School days.
all different from all throughout the diaspora that, you know, that are racist. You know, I hear racist things like very common, you know, it's not uncommon where I work. You hear just comments and you're just like, huh? And it comes from a variety of individuals.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's not it's not just, you know, Caucasians or black people or African Americans. It's from, I mean, my family comes from the Caribbean. My dad, like I always tell because I'm proud of it. My dad was born and raised in Trinidad. Yeah. My oldest brother, God rest his soul, he was born in Trinidad. And you can hear through the different, like, Caribbean countries that there's issues with one another. Like, sometimes I'll hear, the Trinis don't like the Jamaicans don't like the Trinis, the Guyanese think they better than, you know, you hear all of these just different things.
Wow.
And it's really silly. It's silly. But it's how much you take it to. What level are you going to
There you go. It's the level you take it to.
Right. What level are you going to take it to? To the point where you feel like you can lean down on the ground with your full body weight on someone's neck as they're screaming, I can't breathe, and think that it's okay, and have your fellow coworkers standing around like it's just another day in the neighborhood. It's just another day in the neighborhood. Why? Because his life didn't matter to that person or to the rest of them that were there that condoned that kind of behavior.
Again, this is a collective effort on all of our parts. If you stand as a united front, if we stand as a united front, and I'm talking about people of all races, creeds, nationalities, and colors, and call this stuff out for what it is, and hold those that are in positions of leadership to accountability and to a higher level of standard, that would end a whole lot of this. But there's no accountability.
You know what, though? This particular incident was the first time that I can recall that the officers were fired immediately. I was very surprised to see that because Eric Garner case, they had that guy on payroll for what, like 5 years?
Wow.
He was on payroll, I believe, for 5 years.
Yep.
So when I heard that, it gave me a glimpse of hope. It gave me a glimpse of hope that just maybe this case won't end like Trayvon.
And
you know, maybe.
Yeah, now the mayor is calling for the one that had his knee in his neck to be arrested.
No, he wants some
It
charge
was
with murder.
homicide.
Charged, yes.
He wants some charge with murder. He's here. I know. He's charged with murder.
It's homicide.
Yeah.
And I see people on social media. I've heard people, we don't know what led up to it. I don't care if he robbed a bank. I don't care what he did. Whatever happened to the justice system? whatever happened to being charged with something and going to court and being in front of your peers, having a jury, having a judge, and then you getting sentenced or whatever? Whatever happened to that whole process?
Exactly.
The whole judicial process. That judicial process took place in about the 5 to 10 minutes that man died on that concrete, yelling for his life, saying that he couldn't breathe. That officer took it upon himself to be judge, jury, and everything else.
Exactly.
And God, because he took that man's life.
Yes.
So I don't care what happened up to it. If I go and I do and commit a crime, I should be arrested. I should be sit in front of a judge and jury and have my day in court.
Exactly.
He wasn't given that opportunity. So how can you justify it or say, oh, well, we don't know what led up to it?
It ain't the point of what led up to it. It's not
It's
the point.
how it ended.
Exactly. It's not the point of what led up to it. Now, if
It's how it ended.
if he had got out the car and he's shooting at the cops and all this kind of stuff, okay, well, I mean, that's a different story.
You get out, you go, and you shooting at the cops and
Okay.
stuff, and they shoot back.
Back at you.
Okay.
Well, hey, you did that. You did that.
You know,
one.
okay, get it. The man was handcuffed on the ground, face down.
And they actually took him out the car. They were saying he resisted.
You know, but
But
there's a lot of stress.
it is.
There's a lot of stress
and
going on. in
you
this world.
you get to the point to where, like I said, what Will Smith said, it's not that racism ended. It's just getting filmed, and social media is showing it and displaying it, and you're seeing this now. It's 2 to 3 a day now, at least 2 to 3 a day now, and you know you get tired of that. And like I said earlier, I've been in all of them positions. I've been in all of them predicaments. I've been handcuffed. I've been on the ground. I've seen the cops point a gun, and I'm talking about, that's not no little gun. I mean, I'm talking about a big barrel 357 in the back of my friend's head, and he's trying to move because he's laying down in an ant bed, and he's trying to tell him to get up to move, and that guy put a gun to the back of his head with it cocked and said, "Don't you move." And I sat there and was like, "Oh God, don't let him pull this trigger, because I'm fixing to be." First of all, the gunshot gonna ring in my ear. Then I'm finna be splattered with blood and brain matter. And then it's like, and then the next thing I'm concerned and scared, because if he shoot him, okay, they're finna come after me, and they're gonna take it out on me some kind of way. Because I'm telling you, it's just by God's grace and God's favor that he kept me from myself and from them. Because I'm telling you, I've been in all of those predicaments. I've had the police pull guns on me. I've had them pointed straight at my face or at my chest, and they panicking. And it's like, whoa, whoa.
Panicking, but they have the gun.
Right, they panicking, but they got the gun. And me and my friend, we the common cool collective ones. We talking to each other. What are you doing? What you doing? I ain't done nothing. Well, I ain't done anything. And then we happen to look down. Oh. All because we were able to, because we had because we're able to legally carry. Oh, watch this. We're able to legally carry either a shotgun or an assault rifle. We were able to legally carry that, and they just saw it sitting in the truck, the butt of it sitting up, and they pulled their guns out on us just because they saw that. I know all about that. But it's,
I wouldn't even say it was just because of that.
Yeah, it
because
was.
If you were not black, would that still have happened?
Yeah, no. Like you said, if we were black and that was there, nope, it wouldn't have happened. But because we were black and because they saw that,
So that is a perfect example of racial profiling. Period. It's just because you were black. Because if you were Caucasian, what was the likelihood that you would have been pulled over because you had that shotgun?
now we got pulled over for something
whatever.
else. We got put over for something else, and when they came up to us, they saw it sitting there, and they immediately drew down.
Yeah.
immediately.
Even more proof that it was probably related to racial profiling.
Probably
Just because
it
you were
probably
black.
was.
My son drives, and oh my gosh, how many times has he gotten pulled over? I don't want my child to leave the house. Now he goes out running every day, and then sometimes he'll go out when it's, sun's going down, and I start on him because I'm afraid for him because of the world we're living in. He leaves out. He has his, exercise clothes on, which includes a hoodie. And I'm like, you could barely run down the street nowadays in broad daylight. So why are you trying to leave the house at night or when it's turning dark? So it puts a fear in a mom's heart. It puts fear on all of us. Puts fears on wives when their husbands. Things shouldn't be this way.
It
Things
is.
shouldn't be this way.
Yeah. I got a video today from a friend of mine. It was a video where this father put his knee in his son's neck and was teaching him, training him how to survive in that situation. My friend saw that. He saw that. He said he said he teared up. He teared up when he saw that. And then he talking about his 6-year-old after the George Floyd deal. If I'm not mistaken, but it was after the George Floyd deal. His 6-year-old, talking about KJ. He said he hate the police and that he wished he was white.
Oh boy.
Because of how they're treating and doing this. So we have now we're becoming a society where we have to, as people of color, we have to train each other on how to survive. Not live, survive. We're living now, have to be in a survivalist mode. Yeah, Billy, it's poor. That was heart wrenching because I know him. To say that to your parents, and now you got to teach your sons how to survive, what to do when the police pull you over, and you know what? I don't care. It's going to depend on the mindset and the mentality of the person that pulls you over. Again, we keep attacking all of these things naturally and physically, and it's not going to get resolved until we go to the spiritual aspect of it and address that thing. Until we do that, we're going to have more of these, and it's just going to get more and more out of hand. And it's just not people of color. It's just not people of color.
It's everyone.
It's everyone. Everyone is losing their minds on some shape, form, level, and aspect, all in the middle of a pandemic and recession. All in the middle of this. And people are losing their minds, and we are turning on one another. It don't matter. We're turning on one another.
And we're supposed to be there. We're supposed to be each other's, my brother's keeper. What happened to that? My brother's keeper.
People have become selfish.
What happened to helping people and being of support to people? Some people just feel isolated, and that's the worst thing that you can do is stay home, stay in your head, stay in a position where you're not reaching out to people when you going through stuff. Right. And sometimes you need someone that's objective. So you need to go and call a counselor, get therapy if you need. I've heard some people in the church that are totally against medications. Some people with mental illness have chemical imbalances.
Yeah.
What's going on in them is not the same that's going on in you. God made us. He made people to become doctors. He made people to become scientists and researchers. I'm not saying we have to totally be dependent on medications and therapy. We always have to be totally dependent on God first.
Yes.
Exactly.
But as adjuncts, therapy, counseling, medications if you need it. so that you won't be that statistic of where suicide is the 10th leading cause of death, and it's the second leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 34. So you won't be like that. So you won't be that husband that just beat the life out of your wife, or the boyfriend that beat the life out of his girlfriend that was trying to break up with him. You know, get help. Get help before it's too late. You know, and there's so many people. You mentioned, you know, being incarcerated, imprisonment. There's 37% of the prison population for adults that have mental illness.
Wow.
In the juvie system, 70.4% of the children that are there in juvenile detention have a diagnosed mental illness. And homeless people, when we see a lot of these homeless brothers and sisters out there on the street, more than 20% of them have mental illness. So
Yes.
this is real. It's real.
It's real.
It is real. 'Cause like you
Diabetes is real.
Yes.
Mental illness is real. You know, I hear some people, oh, it's not real. It's this, is that, all these different. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, like, what are you talking about? Don't speak about something that you don't know. Tell the person that's sitting there hearing, you
The
know,
voices.
the voices in his head,
Right.
tell him to do things to harm himself. Or the female that's sitting up having hallucinations, seeing things that's not there, tell them that it's not real to them.
Exactly.
They're the ones living it and experiencing it. Tell me that how I'm feeling right now because I'm stressed out is not real.
Yeah.
Tell me that.
Exactly.
With all this going on, putting myself at risk every single day, going into the hospital, not knowing who have this stuff, who don't.
Yeah.
And,
Living with having a child that's going to be 20 that's out taking a jog in the night, and then you worried because you don't know if he's coming home.
Right.
All these different stressors that are going on right now. Seeing our black brothers just being killed, whether they being gunned down or by whomever, by the police, people thinking they neighborhood watch, judge, jury, killing senselessly.
Yes.
yeah, we are getting out of hand. But again, he said about this in Matthew chapter 24 that people's love is going to turn cold.
Yes.
People are going to turn against one another. People are going to turn on one another. And the sad part about it is, unless we do it the way God prescribed, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse. I use this example all of the time. If the people of Babel could get together,
Yes.
and they got together for evil, they got together for evil.
And God said they was going to succeed.
And God said, exactly, God said they were going to actually succeed because they were united. And he said, we got to go down there and stop them.
Yes.
He told me, he said, son, come on, we got to go down there and handle this because they will do it. They're going to succeed in doing that, and they were going to build a tower that they could look up into heaven. He said, if we don't come down here and do something about this, the people will succeed. And they did this under evil. That's how we got all of the different languages.
Yes. God said, I got to go down there.
I got to go down there and stop this.
Stop this. Confuse them.
So if they could get together for evil on a united front, how come we can't become on a united front for God and be about God's business and for good?
And for good.
Because either we're going to stand, we either going to stand together as a people, or we're going to fall divided as a nation.
Ooh.
That's just it.
And I tell you, the past 5 minutes, what I've been having resonate in my head was Pastor Evans' sermon last week. And one thing is just stuck. And he said that how can we expect God to fix the world if the people are messed up?
Exactly.
Yep.
It just like you said, it starts with us. It starts with us. And just because we have all these things going on doesn't mean that it's okay to then act in the same manner as these other individuals. Just because we're fearful for our children and our black brother, even the women. Look what happened, with Tanya from Houston, Miss Bland.
Yeah.
Look what happened with her. We cannot have that same attitude. Even though we're going through what we're going through, we cannot have that same attitude and then harbor hate. We can't then go and act poorly like those racist individuals are acting poorly. We can't sit up and point fingers and judge those people that have mental illness or just not stable mentally in that acute episode. We can't point fingers. We have to support. We have to love one another. We have to be there for one another, recognize ourselves when we need help, recognize when such and such need help, try to get them to get help before it's too late.
Yes.
We have to be accountable to ourselves and each other.
I was just going to say that the other thing is we have to be accountable, and we have to stand and call out those things that we know are not right. This has nothing to do with your race. This has nothing to do with how you were brought up. This has nothing to do with your culture. And not saying that you should ignore or forget your culture, because your culture is your culture. Howsoever, there is a greater need that is at stake and at hand, and it is the human race. It is humankind. And watch this. And not only that, God's purpose is still in effect and at work here in the land, and we can't get to heaven unless we do what God asks and requires of us. I don't care what you call yourself trying to do or what you say professing to be or do, because watch this, God is showing the evidence of your profession right now. And the evidence of your, and I'm not, and watch this. We can't keep looking to the Tony Evans or the T.D. Jakes, and they have put in their time. These gentlemen, they're in their 70s. Okay, they're in their 70s. They are actually on the downside of life. They're way in the downside of life. But it's time for the newer people. Jack, I was talking about in the old church, how they got together and raised up and came together. Okay, we need to be passing that on down to each other for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. Exactly, D. It's easier for us to unite for evil because it speaks to our default and our natural instincts, meaning our flesh, which is sinful from birth. We must make a choice to renew our mind and conform to the Spirit of God. Amen. That is it in a nutshell. That's it right there.
Amen.
That is it right there.
Amen.
It's easier for us, watch this, it's easier for us to go along than to get along.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. So it's easier for us because we default to our natural self, our carnal self, which is sinful, which is not of God, which is from God. I mean, not from God. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, but God is exposing. God is exposing us.
Go in, towards that, like Dee said, that sinful behavior, and say, well, they out there killing us. Let's do, that's not the answer.
That ain't the answer either.
That ain't the answer.
You know better than them. You are no better, no different than them.
Answer.
It's not the answer.
We have to look at it from a godly perspective and figure out, just like you've been saying this past couple of hours, figure out how to address the issues from a godly perspective. And it's not by having hate.
It's
not by having hate. It's not by isolating yourself because, it's just crazy out there. It's a crazy world. I'm just going to stay away. I know I can't keep my son in a house. Can't keep a 19-year-old in a house.
Nope.
But some solutions have to be made.
It has to be made.
It has to be made.
Because like I said, we either going to stand together as a people or we're going to fall divided as a nation. And that's just it. That's just it in a nutshell.
And this nation is pretty much divided and falling as we speak.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we don't want it to get worse. We don't want it to get worse. So what do you, I'm talking to everybody that's listening. What are you going to do?
Thank you.
Talking to myself. What are you going to do? Are you just going to sit back and not even say anything? It's easy for, I told myself yesterday when I was going to come on, I was like, should I even say anything? This is, I actually asked myself that. But I'm like, why not? This affects me. It affects everybody. So why should I stay silent? Just because I'm not a civil rights activist or whatever. I'm coming on to talk about mental health. But I was like, I have to say something. I have to speak up. We have to speak up. We have to do whatever we can to make some changes. Otherwise, it's just going to be a continued silent illness.
Cycle.
Racism.
Cycle. It's going to be a continued silent cycle.
Yeah.
Exactly what it's going to be. I hope y'all have been blessed by tonight. I hope y'all have learned. It has encouraged you in some shape, form, or fashion. Because again, like I said, it's going to take all of us. This is going to take all of us. But I want you to do one thing, though. I don't want you to be discouraged. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Because it's going to be all right. But we got to go. We got to get up out of here, y'all. So stay thirsty, my friends. And remember, what is your exit strategy? Until then, what you say, Fred? It's going to be what? Fred says it's going to be all right. So if it's going to be all right, I believe it's going to be all right. So stay thirsty, my friends. And remember, what is your exit strategy? Until then, if God say the same, we'll see y'all next week. Love y'all. Peace out.